Very good. I don't mind earlier on, it's a bit warm now, and that one over there is being cold in the corner, so pick one of these ones.
Yeah, work away.
Michael, you know that I missed my flight really, that's what. I missed a flight to the airport reading your book.
Did you?
That's a compliment. The plane went without me and I was still reading Michael's book.
Ah, when did that happen?
Just about a month ago.
When you were in the airport?
I was in the airport sitting in my wheelchair. I was at special assistant and I was sitting. They put me at the gate. I started reading the book and I got so into it. And I looked at my watch and I said, I should have been gone. Edinburgh at 6 o'clock and it's 6:10.
Wow. I was in the bad room then.
No, you weren't.
You were on a different plane.
Oh, I was. A different plane.
Who's there?
Mary.
Just Mary and Tricia?
Isabel.
Yeah, and Isabel. Yeah, that's all right. So any questions on this morning? Everybody happy? Or unhappy? Or
My depends. What's the fellow my guy that I call upon when I'm depressed. The observer.
yeah.
You were just saying because I was saying that I kind of separate from the feeling and act. At somebody looking at it to analyse it, and it helps to distance myself from it.
Yeah, stand back.
But you were saying that what I need to do is something as well as that. I don't.
Well, we'll get through that process.
Okay.
We'll get through that process.
It's kind of
Okay, folks. Mary's still not back.
No, just on the do.
Michael, you mentioned there the ego wants to get back to heaven as well. But I presume a different heaven, like, because it didn't reject God.
What do you mean back as well?
Well, as well as the real people.
Well, you see, we have to be also careful here because the whole point of the persona has brought us through everything. The persona brings you to a point. But the persona, being the ego, can only take you to a certain point. Okay?
Okay.
And then, at that point, it becomes hazardous for you if you're trying to wake up. Because there's no way you can wake up if you're attached to the persona. It's impossible. Okay? And that's why people here, the student Power of Now, no one's ever did it.
But is the ego's primary motivation not just stay in the world?
It wants to basically, it knows that there's a higher power that's more powerful in it, and it wants it.
Right.
It wants to dominate. But you see, you have to remember the ego. What I say to people is, right, if you really want to be successful in this world, right, what is the ego? Olive, what's the ego to you?
Mm-hmm.
What's the ego?
What's the ego?
Yeah. When you think of the ego, what is the thought? What form do you put to the ego, or what is it? No, do you see it as the devil? Do you see it as something that's attacking you? Do you... Suzanne?
False self, false self, lower self, lesser self, mind self, interpretation, perception, world self.
Anybody else?
I see it as a model to operate in the world at.
You see, the ego is a device, and Jesus says that very clearly. It's not an entity. It's not your false self.
It's a device.
It's a device.
Okay.
It's mechanical. Okay? And it lives under one law. And it has to obey this law, because this law is the same law as heaven and earth. And it's the only law that transcends both. What is it? Byron Katie talks about it. I think Eckart mentions it in Power of Now. It's the poetic law of cause and effect.
Why poetic?
Because it's what justice is. People might call it karma. But everything is cause and effect. Absolutely. If you know what cause and effect and how cause and effect truly operates, okay? And like Isabel said, the ego is a mode of how you operate in the world. So this is a way you can operate in the world, and this is a way that you can operate in the world. So you have two ways you can operate in the world. Okay, and even when you get to this level, you still have two ways you can operate in the world. You can operate in the world this way, okay, or you can just be in the state of bliss. So what I would like, just before we get into the power of now, and we'll run through the questions that Eckart has asked, and we'll see the answers that he gives, and then we'll use the same questions, and we'll give the answers of A Course in Miracles. And we'll show exactly where Eckart's talking about, and where these diagrams are talking about. But the first thing I want to talk to you first about is, this is the most important part. Because what I want to talk to you now is about the persona. It's the persona is the image of what you want yourself to be. And it could be, I want to be happy. I want peace. I want to meet someone and fall in love. I want to do this. I want to go there. This is all persona. And like I said, the persona has been very helpful for humanity. It has brought us to this place where we're at today. But like everything, we must lay it down when it's fulfilled its use. We'll be leaving our body down at the end of this lifetime. Not because it's good or bad or right or wrong, because it has fulfilled its use. The body is just a vehicle that we use. It's not you.
Michael, sorry. Did your persona change, but just say each lifetime that you live?
Of course.
You don't
It
have the
became
same-
more perceived good. It became more perceived holy. But it did it in a very ruthless and vicious way. By basically discarding and rejecting everything the persona perceives as not good enough into the shadow. Okay? So if you set out to do your persona, to do something in the world, and you say, right, I'm going to be the best at this, and I'm going to do this like no one else ever did it before, then you're doing it with the persona. You're creating a shadow behind it that's going to do everything it can to destroy those plans that you're doing with the persona. Okay? You can't have one without the other. Cause and effect. And every bit of energy that you give to the persona, you give to the shadow. Okay? And the effects of this should be very clear. There's one telltale sign here. If you're gripped with immense fear, anxiety, or panic attacks, what's that a sign of?
It's your sphere. You've no control of your lost.
Basically what it means is you have been feeding nothing but pure energy to the persona, which has been feeding the shadow, and now the shadow, because remember, in the good room is fear. Everybody experiences fear in the good room. Is there anybody here who doesn't experience fear? You won't. The way that we don't experience fear here is we keep ourselves distracted. We keep ourselves so busy. Our whole day is busy having time to move. Okay? People use this to avoid the now, because they're running away from the now. And the further you run away from the now, the more that you create a pain shadow that's after you. And everybody's now running away from the pain shadow. Okay, this is the pain body that Eckart Tolle is talking about. The pain body only comes into awareness and existence because you're using the persona. So let me go through these examples and show how we all use the persona. All right, the persona and control. All right, the persona will always want to be in charge. It wants to control relationships. It'll want to control people, and it'll actually want to control time. So someone who has a schedule and they're busy, full of appointments, full of this, full of that, and basically having a moment to control, that's the persona driving your life. Why would it do that?
To avoid.
The present moment, as Eckart says in The Power of Now, is very, very dangerous to the persona. Why? Because the persona doesn't exist. So the persona is creating its own heaven on earth here, finding its own special people, finding a special place to live, finding a special spirituality that it can follow, okay? Doing all kinds of spiritual things, okay? And it wants to be in charge. And if it's not in charge, then what happens? The authority problem comes in. So anytime you have an authority problem, it's always the persona saying, I know better. I want to be in charge. So anytime that you want to be in charge of anybody, and I'm not talking about where you're involved with work or kids. Okay, kids need education, they need a mom, they need someone to demonstrate. Okay, work, if you're in a position where you have people under you, then that's fine. But what I'm talking about is in our relationships. We want to be in charge. We want to know what's going on. Okay? So when you're using this control, you're giving energy to the persona, which is giving energy to the shadow. You're actually creating now a darkness that's going to come in. It could be depression, it could be anger, it could be hate. We all do this. The persona and the victim. The persona will always, and I mean always, revert to playing the victim when it does not get its own way. Always. Because this is where the victim is. Okay? The persona will always console other victims. It being an internal victim by itself. Why is it a victim? Who's the persona the victim of? Shadow. It's trying everything it can to get rid of it. So the way we do this, and you'll see this in life, is we'll project our darkness onto someone. Could be an ex-friend, an ex-relationship. You know, these are the most likely. And now, you've fallen out with that person, and you don't want to see that person, you don't want that person anywhere near. If that person's going there, I'm not going. Have we all done this? Okay, what we're doing is we're trying to get the shadow as far away as possible away from ourselves. Which means we're trying to get our own sin away. We project our sin, whatever it is, onto them, and then we say, get out of my life. And we all do this. And we're victims. So when we're looking at the TV, you might see a little cat. Or you might see someone else being, you know, victimized on TV. You'll always side with the victim, don't we? Yeah? Very rarely you turn around and go, the bad boy, or the victimizer. All right? Because we'll always relate to how we truly feel about ourselves. So there'll be a part of your life where you'll be in the good room, okay, and you'll feel a little bit of a victim. Maybe everybody else is waking up and you're the only one not to wake up. Maybe everybody else is getting the course and you're the only one that's not getting it. Maybe everybody else is really happy and I'm the only person that's not happy. See, when you're in this mode of thinking, you're feeding the persona, which is feeding the shadow. You're creating your own hell about to come.
So anyway, is the persona ever the bad guy in the person?
Persona is the bad guy.
So
But
I mean, it's
pretends
like-
to be the
like-
good
like
guy.
Say, you know, brutal people that can be cool and happy. Like,
Well, let's look at it this way,
But you
right?
get the reverse in any people.
Yeah. I'm not going to do it today, but I'm going to be doing a lot of these with what's happening in the world. So let's look at what's happening in the world. The persona, let's say, is the West. Okay? The shadow is the Middle East. Now, the shadow is now attacking the persona, isn't it? Bombs, terrorists, ISIS, all of this. That's what's happening. And everybody here in the persona is trying to sort out all those problems. We don't have any problems over here, the problem's theirs and it's over there. Well, that's bullshit. This is creating the problems over there. Why? Because we're all one. And we have half of ourselves stealing from the other half. There's 50% of this world learns less than $1 a day. Okay? Less than $1 a day. Okay? And everybody in the West is taking everything, and we're even using people as slaves over there. Now, we're taking every resource from them, and if this is bringing up guilt in you, you're looking at it through this perspective. Okay? Of good, bad, but what I'm saying here is, if you truly want to be one with people, it's about sharing everything equally in shared interest. At the moment, this world is built upon self-interest. So you look at governments. The only time people have any power in this country is the time before the vote for the next government. The moment you vote, you lose power. People lose power. Now, once the party is in, okay, the party does self-interest. It's all about the party. You've seen that with Lucinda Creighton. Okay? Right, the party promised about abortion, and then we backtracked, and Lucinda stood for her principles, and she was kicked out. Even though everybody voted for her for what she said in the election. But that didn't mean anything to the party. Kicked her out. Because now it wasn't about the people who voted for her. What that government did was they kicked everybody who voted for her out of power also. Because why? Because now it is party before everybody else. Now, what's happening now is beautiful what's happening now in Ireland. And it's going to be the module for future governments throughout the world. And I'm going to make this appeal. The next time there's an election, don't vote for party politics. Vote for independence. Because when they go in there now, okay, they're not physically in there for themselves. It's a democracy. It's a real democracy. Look at all those independents. Every one of them went back to their people to see what the people thought. When the party gets elected, it's fuck you. Now, it doesn't take a genius to work this out. If you just want a really, really prosperous and fair and equal country for everybody, vote independence. Don't vote party politics. Okay? So that's just one example. How did we get onto that, Tom? You're getting me into trouble here. Right, let's keep going. Right. These are all, what I'm saying, these are all key areas where you're basically now hurting yourself. You won't see this. This is why this is the greatest con job and smoke and mirrors job that has ever been done in this world. Okay? Next we have the persona, the seeker. I'll email this through to you if anybody wants it. Alright? The persona, the seeker. The ego, i.e. the persona, has been on a continuous quest for enlightenment for centuries. And every single person in spirituality today falls into this trap. The seeker is seeking is always the persona. Okay? The ego is always on a lookout for those who seek this precious gift. So what this means is if you walk into a bookstore, your personality might buy the book, of Course in Miracles. But the moment you start reading it, your persona will take it over. Okay? Because the persona sees an opportunity for waking up. And it might be even the persona that got you to buy the book in the first place. If you're into it, the persona will use whatever it is you're doing. If you are a dictator and think that you're better than everybody else, you want to run the country, the persona is the job that will help you to do that. You know, if you think that you're better than everybody else, the persona will make you believe that you're better than everybody else. It'll do exactly what Jesus says, ask and you shall receive. So whatever you want in life, if you ask it of the persona, you will receive. But it ain't going to be what you think you're going to receive. So even the seeker has to be relinquished. Yes. And I would only say that don't drop the seeker until you have a clear path ahead that you know exactly what you need to focus on next. Okay? Because the seeker, even if you have all the information, alright, it'll still keep seeking. And it'll seek this lifetime, the next lifetime, and the lifetime after that. Because it's like a dog with a bone. That's what it is. You point it in the right direction, it'll keep seeking. And especially it'll hurt you when you don't need to seek anymore. When you have got what you need, then it's time to drop the persona. Up until that point, the persona will get you what you need. But you're going to have to pay a price for that. Because everybody who uses the persona basically has to pay a coin of, and it could be either fear or guilt. Because the fear is here, and the guilt is here. The persona and the body. Alright, remember what we talked about the body? The body's neutral. Okay? So, here's what happened. The body will be the battleground between the persona and the shadow. The persona will do everything it can to enhance its public perceptions, i.e. appearances, And it will also drive, its own self-help, healthy lifestyle. Be a vegetarian, be this, be that, be all of these kind of things. While, in the background, the shadow will constantly nag you with thoughts about your weight, your looks, your dress, your skin tone, your hair, basically anything that it can see, it will. You can see now how this perceived two thought systems are on this wire over the image of the body. Now, the more that you use the persona to enhance the body's image, what happens? Huh?
The worse they'll get.
The sicker you're going to get, eventually. Now, let's look at this. Forget about spirituality for a moment. Okay, let's say someone living in the world for a number of years and they've used the persona. What happens on a metaphysical level is this, is eventually the shadow envelops the persona. And the person lives out the rest of their life in darkness. They'll be living out their life in fear. And what they'll do with that fear is project it onto God. Fear of God, fear of death, fear of not having enough money, fear of sickness, the fear, am I going to be judged? Am I going to hell? This is the hell that people pay the price for living a life of using the persona throughout it all. Say someone has used the persona to gain great wealth. Now they're going to be in great fear of losing that wealth. They'll project that fear, they'll be in fear, but they'll project it on to maybe their money, whatever is valuable for them, their family, their relationships. Okay?
So, they're saying so that anything that, if you're trying to enhance the body or improve the body in any way, that's the persona. So, what if you are supposed to take medicine or something for a medical condition? Does that mean that you're taking it with a persona and that you'll get sick anyway?
The medical condition is an effect.
Oh, yeah, I realise that.
Yeah.
But
Well,
what are you saying to ignore the medical
if
condition?
you look at that whole health, it's like justice and everything in this world only deals with effects.
Oh, yeah.
No one's dealing with the cause. So again, the first thing that you looked at was the effect.
Yeah.
Okay, not the cause. So you can deal with effects if you want. Alright, and that's what everybody's doing in spirituality. They're dealing with these effects of the darkness, the shadow, whatever it is, whatever name you want to put on with it. But they don't realize that this is what's causing it. This is causing the sickness. So, the body, like I said to you, I mean, this mind is at war with itself. This is the part of the mind that's suffering, and this part is looking for the answers to that suffering. I.e., that's what everybody's doing spirituality for, right? But they don't realize the part that's looking for the answers is the same part that's causing the suffering.
So, if I appear to have a medical condition, I just ignore it.
No, you don't ignore it. You do what Jesus says in the Course. If you need to take a tablet, you take a tablet. The problem with magic is that it works.
Yes.
Okay? And it's only temporary. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So if you need to take a tablet, then you take a tablet. You need to take medicine, you take it. You do everything that you did before, but you realize now where the sickness has come.
So, basically, you do what you've always done, just you know that it's magic and you know that it's only temporary.
Yeah.
And you know that it's not the real.
It's about carrying a truth. If you can carry the truth here of what's going on here, then you're here.
It's about what's in your mind.
Yeah. So let's keep going. We have the planner and the sabotager. The persona is the planner, the doer, and everything that is in your future plans has been placed there by the persona. And you may have thought it was you that's making these plans for the future. It's not. Okay? The shadow then is the sabotager. I will do everything it can to sabotage the persona's well-laid plans. And this actually occurs in everything that we do. Okay? The shadow makes it very difficult for us to achieve the successful outcomes that we set out to do things in this world. Can anybody relate to this?
Yeah.
It's the very old saying, the more hurry, the less speed.
Yeah. And the persona is the person who, again, I'll use Sharon as an example. Sharon was doing a charity Strictly Dancing, and she said yes to it. And then the moment that she said yes to it, then she started having second thoughts, and the closer it came, all the shadow came in with all the thoughts of judgments, and people are going to laugh, and people are going to do this. But Sharon didn't realize that she was judging the people who are going to be judging her. You know, and that's what we all do. We all think people are judging us, but we don't realize, well, we have to judge them judging us first. You know, so at least, you know, do unto others as they would do unto you. So don't judge other people, and therefore you won't feel judged. So in all of this, Sharon wanted to do the dance. It was a great, it was a good cause and everything, was suited the persona down to the T. But again, like the presentation, the shadow comes in and basically does everything it can then to thwart those plans. And we do this. You know, you might see a house that you want to buy, or you might see something that you would love to buy, and you do everything you can, and all you see is problems creating. Well, that's the shadow trying to basically stop the plans from going ahead. And it's the same with waking up. Okay? The shadow will come in and basically tell you that you can't do it. You're not doing it right.
You can feel this resistance.
Of course. Yeah.
We were only talking about Barack Obama at lunchtime, and the minute he got into power, the Republican Party decided that no matter what he was going to do, they were going to veto it. So that would be actually his shadow.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And that's what politics is at the end of the day. And that's a good, it's the same way Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael. The only reason Fianna Fáil have let Fine Gael in is they're going to annihilate them in the Dáil. That's the only reason. The only reason Fine Gael took it was because they want power. So we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah.
So when you're watching this drama in the House from now on, you'll see exactly what's happening from both sides. You know, but one is creating the other, and one is nothing without the other. You know, but we do this every day ourselves. The next one is you have, of course, the most obvious one is the people pleaser, the manipulator. All right, it's the persona is the ultimate people pleaser, which means that it is the ultimate manipulator, and that's what manipulation and people pleasing is all about. Someone's trying to get you to do something that they want, and that's why they have on this energy around them, and they're telling you how wonderful you are, how great you are, and how basically you're being set up. And I think there was an old saying that I think it was, I forget it now, about this, about how people come to you telling you all great things. Do you remember it, Tom? No?
Well, I know lots of people, all right, but I can't remember the description of it.
Yeah. Well, you see, the reason why we do all the things that we do is because we have one part of ourselves that we want more than anything else. We want to be liked and we want to be loved. And we'll do anything to be liked and loved. And when we're not liked and loved, you can see how soul destroying that leaves us. Because we have nothing else. At this level, all we have is our attachments. And if you have no attachments at this level, you have nothing. We have the persona and religion. We talked about that. The persona put its favourite religion in there, no matter it was, and what it'll do is it'll put all other religions into the background. Then we have the persona and the rationalizer. Alright? Rationalizer here, truth here. So the way this works is everything that you rationalize bad, you keep. And everything you rationalize good, you lose. Do you know how that works, Tricia?
Sorry, my mind is.
I know, I just seen you go down the car down the driveway.
Sorry about that, but at least I'm honest.
Yeah. What I'm saying here, we're talking about the rationalizer, right?
I feel like the bad pupil now.
The way a rationalization works is this.
Excuse me, just getting
Is
that.
everything that you rationalize negative in your life, you keep. Everything you rationalize positive in your life, you lose. I could get a penny now for all the looks that I've
Totally
got.
there, yeah.
It's all in the mind anyway.
This is very important.
I know, but it's all in the mind.
Of course.
So if I
Right, let's look at it this way, right?
It's not real.
It's not real.
You have fear, all right? We all have fear. One thing you have to recognize, at this level, everybody's in fear. You can't be in this level without the fear. The way we get rid of the fear then is through projecting. So you can project the fear onto fear of flying, fear of spiders, fear of snakes. Anybody here, what's your great fears? Anybody?
Hi.
Wasps, of course.
I can say that. I
Yeah.
did.
You can't be on this level and not be afraid of anything.
Can you project it onto your body as well?
Yes, right. So the way it works is a rationalization, okay? A rationalization is an external excuse for an internal problem.
Say that again.
A rationalization is an external excuse for an internal problem. So let's say all of a sudden you leave here this evening and you go out and you're sitting out and you're having a nice glass of wine and you see the most beautiful sunset. And it just opens your whole heart and you just, wow. Alright, all you're doing now is you're looking at this picture and you're believing that the reason why you feel so good is because you see this picture. What's wrong with that?
No, nothing.
What? What's wrong with it?
You're placing it outside.
Just be there.
You see, the way it works is this. That feeling, that image is given to you, right, is inside you all the time. But the ego doesn't want you to feel that energy inside, so it projects it outside and projects it onto a sunset, projects it onto a beautiful person, projects it onto this, projects it onto that. The moment you project it externally and believe that you're feeling the way that you're feeling because of this external picture or person or thing or book or whatever it is, you lose, you're just basically now flowing that energy into the ego thoughts. You're losing it.
But isn't that okay?
No, it's definitely not
So
okay.
are you saying that it's not okay
Because-
to enjoy? But hang on, are you saying it's not okay if you are enjoying a beautiful sunset or something beautiful to say, thank you for this, it's lovely? Are you saying that's not okay?
Is that what I said?
But, well,
Is that what I said?
okay, well then tell me what you're saying.
But you're not listening to me here, Tricia.
Well, hang on, maybe I'm not getting you, but don't
Because
accuse me of not listening.
no. What I'm saying,
Okay,
no,
that's
what I'm
not
saying,
fair.
if you heard what I said,
Okay, no, that's different, yeah, but I was listening, so
Right.
I don't like being said as
no. But
was
what
listening.
what I mean is to listen, is to hear exactly what I'm saying.
But I
Not what you think. What I'm
sometimes that
saying.
gets lost. But what I heard was when you said, you know, you're saying everything flows out and you're feeding the ego thought system. I get
Yeah.
that.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, I actually appreciate when I'm somewhere nice and something is lovely, and even if something isn't lovely,
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that I'm experiencing it.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Right. Are you experiencing bliss every single minute? Would you
I'm-
like to?
Well, that's a closed question. So in a way, I'm experiencing bliss in as much as I can, and I'm
Right.
appreciating it anytime I
But
get.
would you like to be in bliss every minute of the day?
But there's no such thing at this level.
At this level.
Because
But-
I'd be awake if I did. I'd
Right.
be fully awake.
Right. Would you like to be awake?
Are you talking to my persona now or my shadow?
Don't get too technical.
Who are you talking to?
It's unbelievable.
Who are you talking
All
to?
I'm saying
Who are you
here,
talking to?
it's like this, right? If you want to wake up and you want to keep doing what you're doing, you're never going to wake up. It's as simple
I'm
as
sorry, I
that.
don't
Because,
believe that.
well, that's okay.
Okay,
That's okay.
I don't believe
Because what's happening is here is you're losing all the bliss that's inside you. You're channeling it out into the ego. Now, I am not saying about not sitting and enjoying a beautiful sunset. I have never been more of a witness since I woke up of the beauty that's all around us. But I never do. I never project it outside. Never would I do that.
Everybody
Because I
says
will.
happiness with something external.
The picture outside is showing me
Yes.
who I am inside. And I bring it back inside every single time. I never sit there and look at the picture and go, wow, isn't that amazing?
And so, and what does that say?
It's basically you're
What does it
adoring
say about
this,
you?
you're adoring this image that's outside. And that means that's how I have always lost any peace, any joy, any bliss that I would have. I'm just shoving. And here I go then to find a book. I'm trying to get a book. Where's my happiness? Where's my bliss? And all of a sudden then I go outside. And it's inside me. And we all know the bliss is inside us, isn't
Yeah,
it?
but
We all know that. Just a second.
Okay, right.
And we know that bliss is inside. All right? And the ego knows that bliss is inside. And the ego does not want you to know. And I mean to know, and that's to experience it. So the ego is on a mission to get rid of this bliss, for it to claim it, so it supplies us with all of these images outside and it goes, wow, look at that, look at that, look at that. And we project all of this love that we have, all of this bliss, this joy, this peace onto that. And then all of a sudden, then the next day we're depressed, we're angry, we're just in this, and then we'll go, why? The other way, it looks, and I'll give you another example. You might have, when you were growing up, met this person, and you might have fallen in love with this person, you know, and then you got your heart broken, right? I'm just showing you how it works. What happens is we meet this person, we feel this kind of bliss, this love, this sensation, this aliveness comes alive inside us. All right. Yeah. But what happens is the moment we meet the person, every single minute we're with them, we project all of this love, this beauty that's inside us onto them, because we believe now this person is who's making me feel like this. The problem then is when that person walks out the door, where does the love and the bliss go? With them. We have projected it onto them, and they're gone. That's how it works, Tricia.
Yeah, but I get that.
But that's the
I get
same
that.
thing with the picture. You see, the picture is only there for a few seconds.
Yes, but
But
you're not letting me talk now. You keep talking. You're not letting me say anything. You're not letting me say
Yeah, but
anything.
I know.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
that's what I'm supposed to be doing here today. Do you know?
Oh, so okay.
No, Tricia. Basically what I'm saying here is I'm trying to, you don't get what I was saying, so this is why I'm trying to show you how this works. That's why I brought in the relationship. So it works the same with a person, it works the same thing as a picture. We walk away from that picture and you might run into the person and say, I've seen the most beautiful thing outside today, I've seen the most beautiful, or I've seen this, or I've seen that, and you tell people all about it. All you're doing is still projecting it, still getting rid of it, and out
But you
the
just said another way that happiness comes from within.
You see,
Happiness comes from within your soul.
the thoughts, you see, thoughts will direct your energy. If you're feeling good about something, a thought will come in, and that thought will take that onto this, or onto that. Thought comes in, it's good. You'll project that good thought on here, on there, on there. That thought comes in here, it's a bad thought. You'll try to get rid of it, you put it on here, you put it on here, put it on here. Now, I'm sure everybody in this room, yesterday, for a period of time, had thoughts of here. I'm pretty sure. And what did they do with every one of those thoughts? Here, 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 here. Part of our makeup here is everything that's here. There's no choice in this. That's the point that I'm making here. At this level, any love that you feel at this level, and you can feel love at this level, you're tricked in to emptying it down the toilet. Simple as that. And not only do you lose the love that you're putting down the toilet, but you're giving it down the toilet, it's going to come up another toilet and hit you over the back of the head. So you get double whammy for it.
You're painting a very bleak picture.
It's the truth. Because everybody in here can relate to this, because at some point in your life, you must realize that you have did this. Everybody's done this. Everybody's met someone. Everybody's got their heart broken. Everybody's used the persona. Everybody has to deal with the shadow. This is life. This is the truth of life. It's not hairy-fairy stuff. Oh, we're all one. We're all spiritual. You know, we have to love each other. We have to do this. The reason why everybody loved this book is because the picture that I'm painting here is not in this book.
I think it is. I think it is.
Not the way I'm painting it.
But exactly, that's different.
Yeah.
But it
Do you
definitely
know?
is.
But you see, this is the truth that no one wants to hear. This is the truth that we're all trying to hide and run away from. This is the truth no one wants to talk about. This is all the underground.
Michael, sorry, can I just ask you, how do you keep it within? Is it just having absolutely no judgment about what's inside?
No, you look at the picture outside and you say, that's me. That is me. And feel the body. Like teaching a hand, like Mucci, like Eckart Tolle, and even Byron Katie. They'll all ask you, how does this make you feel? Because how you feel is the most truest thing about this level. It's the only thing that you can be sure of.
What's it better than to talk about things that we absolutely want to reject rather than something that we really appreciate? Isn't it actually better to talk about it in that perspective, from that perspective?
Well, what you're saying is, you're really saying it's okay to lose this goodness, this health that we have inside. When Jesus says, Father, give us this day our daily bread, what do you think he was talking about?
Again, I don't know what it is.
Love.
I don't know what it
Bliss,
is.
the love inside. That's the only thing heaven is. It's the only thing God is. It's the only thing we are. We are love, and we deny that love. So that's what the prayer was about in the Our Father. Father, give us this day our daily bread. Now you can eat from God's table, or you can eat from the ego's table. I ate for a long time from the ego's table. I never eat from that table ever again. I have a ruthless streak in me now, and Sharon will testify. I have a tolerance of 0 for the ego.
I could pretty much tell you that too.
Well, it's, there's no way that I could do what I had to do. I mean, I said to the boss one time, why am I not sitting in a room telling everybody how lovely they are, beautiful they are, spiritual they are, everything else? He says, you're not here to be adored. You're here to do the other part. That means to tell people exactly what they don't want to hear. Something as that.
So let's just take me, for example, there, when I was making that point about appreciating, let's say, appreciating whatever it is, or rejecting whatever it is, right? So I'm obviously in my lower mind, or the level, as you call it, level 1, if I'm making those distinctions.
Of course.
So if I can allow and accept and appreciate what's in front of me because I know it's not real, then where am I at?
What did, have you read Byron Katie?
No, I've listened to her though.
Right. I'm trying to relate this. It's not about the situation, okay? It's only about your thoughts about the situation.
But I just said, where am I at? When if I can accept, appreciate whatever is happening outside here, because I know it's secondary, where am I at?
Right.
Where am I at?
So you can appreciate everything
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah, if I'm there.
Right. And do you appreciate any pain, any sickness, any irritation?
Anything
annoyance?
anything that's there, I can appreciate.
Right.
Where am I at?
But the point that I'm asking you is that a part of your life also?
No, you're asking me a question.
I mean, let me work with you here. You're saying you want to appreciate the good things in
No,
life.
I'm saying I am. I am.
Let me talk. Okay. So your stance is you're appreciating good things in life, and you want to do that.
And bad
Okay.
things.
All right.
And bad things.
Okay. And the part of that, and that's what you want to do. That's your choice. Okay. So that's fine. Okay. But the problem with that, and anybody who wants to do that, is then you have to appreciate all the pain and everything else that comes in. There's a price for paying for wanting to do what you want to do. And that's fine. There's no problem with that. If you want to pay the price, you pay the price. But at least know what you're doing. That's the only difference here. All right? It's the only difference. So whether it's a beautiful person, whether it's a beautiful picture, a sunset, a beach, whatever it is, it's never the picture. It's only your thoughts about the picture that matter. Okay? Now, if I appreciate that beautiful picture as myself, I keep my bliss. And that's number 1. If I look at that beautiful picture and I see that has nothing to do with me, that it's basically a picture in the world that God gave us to look at to help us while we're in hell, then that's fine too. Then I lose my bliss.
So we go back to that line that you said, anything we rationalize as bad,
We keep it.
anything we rationalize as good, we lose.
Yes.
Because we are rationalizing.
And the very fact is, when you're actually The reason why you're feeling bad then is because you're actually just emptying your goodness down the toilet, and what's left then is nothing. Like Jesus says at this level here, he says there are many at the cistern, but there's nothing in the trough. And what he's talking about is here. So again, rationalization, like passive aggressive, is the two most destructive tools in your awareness. They're the two most potent tools that the ego is using to hurt you. And if we don't realize that, then we're going to, it doesn't matter what else you do in life. You could practice forgiveness, you could practice detachment, you could practice disidentification, the rest of it. But if you're still creating more and more hell in your life, all you're doing is wasting energy getting part of the effects of that.
Michael, can I just ask you just earlier on about passive aggressive again? Would you mind explaining that? You know, is that the same as what you kind of spoke about there, everything rational, could you lose, or do you know when you talk about passive
Well,
aggressive?
the passive aggressive is someone who basically won't project onto other people, will hold it in, they're trying to be good.
Yeah, so you do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
How do you? I don't know.
You keep it inside.
How do you undo that? You have to be honest.
Okay.
Like, I remember a workshop that I did in here a number of years ago, and I got so many emails, and it was, if you want to tell someone to fuck off, it's better to tell them to fuck
Really?
off
Okay.
than to think it and pretend that you're a good person. Or I better not say this, or they'll think I'm this or that. Now you're passive aggressive. You know, the person's annoying you, but you're a spiritual person. You're supposed to be good.
Yeah, that's
You're doing A Course in Miracles. And everybody who starts off doing the Course in Miracles goes into the passive
Yeah,
aggressive.
that's exactly what.
And the one thing that Jesus says in chapter 2, do not change your behavior, change your mind first. And what's the first thing everybody does? They change their behavior. Now they're fucked. The reason why, because this is the persona. All you're doing is you're settling in nice and well to your persona now, and the persona's going to start doing all the work. Because now you're dressing like someone who's enlightened. Now you're reading all the books. Now you're going to all the talks. Now you're doing all of this stuff. You know?
Right, and I'm confused over that. Because you know that whole thing about handing it over to the Holy Spirit and looking for the proper guidance to say in how to, you know, so I would be kind of saying, okay, if I hand this over, so the way that I would probably react, but like killing someone versus getting a bit of clear guidance to,
Yeah.
to you know what I mean, to have the
Well,
proper,
to hand over means for you to go here.
yeah. See how
And there's only one way you can get in there.
kill the person first and
No.
then.
No. You can do that if you want. All right. But I think you're going to put this down here somewhere. Right? Handing over means you look at this differently. And that means you do two things straight away. You take complete responsibility for the experience and everything that you've seen and perceived. Okay? And you totally have acceptance for what is. And then you work from that, because that'll get you from to here.
You're not from,
Oh yeah.
there's nothing on the code there for you?
Aye, brilliant. Brilliant, Paul.
So take complete responsibility.
And have total acceptance for the situation. In other words, what it means is this: if you're arguing with someone, and you're in a heated argument or whatever, right, and you walk out of that room, you're liable to leave the projection with the other person, which means is, you know, the other person did something wrong. You know, you're angry with them, you're irritated with them, you're annoyed with them, whatever. All right? So what it's about is being honest.
Okay. And feeling, does that help feeling the anger?
Well, you see, of course it does.
Yeah.
It does, because you're being more honest when you're doing the feeling.
No,
You see,
deny it.
yeah. You see, the ego is the mind here, you know,
Yeah.
the thinking mind, all right? As in here, this mind. And the heart, you could say, here is here. So this battle is going on between the head and the heart all the time. Do you know? So, you know, eventually you have to make this and this one. This has to become one. And that's what happens here. These two have to become one.
Michael, can I say, cut this down to something, I could be dead wrong, this is something simple, very simple. That if you it depends on the circumstances. If you do something, you have a dispute with somebody, you go in, you act passive aggressive, I'm spiritual, I won't, you retain all your anger and you make yourself ill. But if you go into that person and you bash them over the head because they're a different opinion to you, that's not great either. It might get out through. But are you saying that the way you should really handle that is go in and acknowledge that within you that there is this difficulty, and let's pull it out, look at it, and therefore you can make peace with the person.
You don't need you don't need to say anything to anybody. You don't need to do anything. This is a quiet internal dialogue that you have with yourself at all times.
Yeah, the same thing with the sunset. That
you be honest with yourself.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I think it really helped me when you get to the point where you relate Eckart to the, as you were saying earlier, you were going to relate Eckart to the. So it really helped me when you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's move into that now, right? I could go on with the persona, all right, but I'll email that out to you and you can have a look at it yourself. But I want to just really get into the part now for the next hour, and then what's going to happen, Marie then is going to do a little thing then. We'll have a little break after we do this for 10 minutes, and then Marie's going to do her stuff then. So, start off at chapter 1, page 11. When you say being, are you talking about God? If you are, then why don't you say it? All right. And Eckart goes on to say this, and I love this. The word God has become a closed concept. The moment the word is uttered, a mental image is created, no longer perhaps of an old man with a white beard, but still a mental representation of someone or something outside you. And yes, almost inevitably, a male or someone or something. I remember doing a workshop in here a number of years ago, and I said this: God doesn't want you to believe in Him. He wants you to know Him. As long as you continue to believe in God, you will never know Him. Why? Because the same thing is what Eckart's saying here. When you think of God, Helen, you have an image of God that's you. Tricia, you're the same. Gina is the same. We all have these images of who God, and every image that we hold is separate from each other. Okay, God is a word, and it is an external adoration word. Okay, to me, what God is pure awareness. Awareness has no opposite. Okay?
Was it young that he was asked, do you believe in God? And he said, I believe, no, I know
Yeah.
God.
Because I don't believe in God. Because I don't hold on to a single belief anymore about anything. All beliefs are a collection of thoughts and ideas. And what we're trying to do is to get to here, which is above and beyond all thoughts, ideas, concepts, and beliefs. Okay? So, Eckart goes on then, and he's talking about the word being. Neither God nor being nor any other word can define or explain the ineffable reality behind the word. Okay? So he's asked this question: what is the greatest obstacle to experiencing this reality? And his answer is identification with your mind. Okay? The philosopher Descartes believed that he had found the most fundamental truth when he made his famous statement, I think, therefore I am. Okay? He had, in fact, given expression to the most basic error to equate thinking with being and identity with thinking. The compulsive thinker, which means almost everyone. Now, what I say to people in this, is this for you or not? And the way the test is this: if you think, then this is for you. It's that simple. Okay? Because we're all on level 1, we're all wrong-minded thinking. The only way we're going to get to level 3 is right-minded thinking. Unless you're going to find a way of circumventing that. So, what he's saying there is here, and here's what he's talking about, is the thinking mind, right and wrong and good and bad. And like I say, what's absent What's absent in this, we'll see. The beginning of freedom is the realization that you are not the possessing entity, the thinker. Okay? Knowing this enables you to observe the entity. So how do we observe? And where do we observe from? Do we observe from here? No. Where do we observe from? We observe from here. This is what has been missing in this book. You can't observe from here to here. It's too great a distance. So how do you observe from here to here? Anybody? Non-judgment. Okay? You have to learn. Here is an energy and a level of non-judgment. Here is without judgment. You can't get to without judgment until you go through non-judgment. It's that simple. So if you can't understand what it is to live life without judgment, which equals bliss, then the way to get there is to go through be living non-judgment. And that means that you're not invested in any relationship or anything you do to become unconditional. So, what he's asked was the question is, what is the greatest obstacle to this reality here? And here he starts to talk about, and I'll let you decide what he's talking about. This voice comments, speculates, judges, compares, complains, likes, dislikes, and so on. The voice isn't necessarily relevant to the situation you find yourself in at the time. It may be reviewing the recent or distant past, or rehearsing or imagining a possible future situation. What's he talking about? Ah, come on.
He's talking about both sides.
Yes, yes. It's important that you really get to be specific in this. Because if you just keep saying the ego to everything, what are you doing? You're hiding the creation of your own pain. If you want to bring this down, you look at this and you say, right, I'm using my persona. That's okay, I'm going to use my persona. But at least know you're using persona and you're not creating pain. You use your persona and you think it's you, being a nice person, being a good person, you're going to have a hell tomorrow or next week or down the line. It's inevitable. You cannot escape that.
Michael, is this in your book? And that all there, see on them level 1. What you were saying there, because I tell you, I'll just be totally honest with you. And like this girl here, that's the ego down there to me, you know. The persona, the shadow, I'm kind of just a bit lost in that.
Yes.
Is it in your book?
Yeah.
You know, the book?
Yeah. It's probably the longest chapter in my book is the separate itself.
Yeah. Okay,
And it goes through all of this.
Exactly.
But like I say, the two main areas that Eckart Tolle is talking about here, the three, is here, here, and here. Okay? It doesn't define this personality. Okay? So let's go to the next one. Like I say, these are questions that's asked in the Power of Now, and I think it's relevant that I want to just read this, and he's talking about the state of being up here. Love, joy, and peace are deep states of being, or rather 3 aspects of the state of interconnectedness with being. As such, they have no opposite. This is because they arise from beyond the mind. Emotions, on the other hand, being part of the dualistic mind, that you are subject to the laws of opposites. So all your emotions, apart from one, are subject to the laws of opposites. This simply means that you cannot have good without bad. Here it is, just written in black and white. Exact same thing. Okay?
Wait, are you saying at level 2 it's dualistic as well then?
No, it's not dualistic at
It's not.
level 1.
No, at level 2.
Level 2, sorry, no.
Yeah.
The mind is split in such a way, right? And this here doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
But when we seek outside ourselves, when we want something else other than heaven, the moment we go out here, we go straight down. So this is this split. The Buddha says that pain or suffering arises through desire or cravings, and that to be free of pain, we need to cut the bonds of desire. Okay? All cravings are the mind seeking salvation or fulfillment in external things and in the future as a substitute for the joy of being. You see, the ego has its own source of enlightenment in here. Okay? And it has its own joy, its own peace, and its own love. And you all know this very well. The joy in here comes from getting what you want. The peace in here comes from getting everybody out of the house for the evening. Okay? The love in here comes from the next person that you're seeking for, and you'll have demands, expectations, needs, and desires on that. So this is the ego's idea of heaven. This is the ego's trying to create heaven in here, the persona, and it needs you to do it. And this is the ego's hell. So this is heaven and hell for the ego at this level. And you're right in the middle of it. Okay? And you have to be in one or the other.
So, Michael, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
But are you saying now, am I understanding this properly, really? The ego is the persona and the shadow.
Yes. Split.
Yeah.
The persona and the shadow would be the entirety of the ego thought system.
Ego thought system, okay.
Okay, but it splits in two here, and now you have to perceive good, perceive bad, right and wrong. The other thing is, do you know why no one wants to be wrong? It's because you go into the bad room. No one wants to be bad. So this is why people argue all the time trying to be right, because everybody wants to be in the good room, because that's where people are right are. Everybody that's wrong is in the bad room. So you're guilty by association. Okay? And if you're in the bad room, you did something wrong, that means you're guilty. So nobody's life is entirely free of pain and sorrow. Isn't it a question of learning to live with them rather than trying to avoid them? Yeah? And is that what you were saying, Tricia? It's better just to kind of, you know, be where we're at and appreciate where we're at rather than avoid it.
Yeah.
Is that where you got that idea from?
To some extent, yeah.
Is that where you got that idea from?
Well, yeah, well, it's not just from the book, of course, from listening to a lot of Eckart stuff anyway, you know.
Yeah. Well, here's what it is now. This might be able to help you a little bit more. The pain that you create now is always some form of non-acceptance, some form of unconscious resistance to what is. On the level of thought, the resistance is some form of judgment. On the emotional level, it is some form of negativity. As long as you continue to do what you've been doing at that level, then this is what you're creating. It's non-acceptance. Because what the persona is the non-acceptance of what is. Okay? The persona will not accept what is. And everything the persona does is to annihilate what is. Because it wants its own what is, which is its own sense of enlightenment, its own sense of heaven. And it's going to use you to do it. So again, there's no sense of you not being in judgment. And if you sit and you appreciate a good picture for what it is, then you also have to acknowledge that you're going to appreciate, and you have to look at the bad picture and see it exactly what it is. You know, you can't have one without the other. And that's the way this world is. You know, so there's nothing wrong with looking at a good picture, as long as you realize the picture is you. Let's move along. He's talking about the pain body here now, which is the bad room, all right, or the shadow. Well, what happens to the pain body when we become conscious enough to break our identification with it? Everybody understand that question?
Say it again.
What happens to the shadow, all right, when we break our identification with it?
Disappears. Does it flee away?
No. It says here, unconsciousness creates it, the persona. Consciousness transmutes it into itself. So where's the consciousness?
Level 2.
Huh?
Level 2.
What's wrong with that?
Level 2.
It's too big a jump.
Yeah.
Too big a jump. This is consciousness. This would be the unconscious, subconscious consciousness. So here, it's the subconscious that creates your world. And the subconscious is totally independent of each other. Alright? When you choose the ego, and that means I want to be special, I want to be famous, I want to be all these things, then the ego now starts creating everything around you in the world. You're here. Or you could be here in the world under this mind, attached to this mind, to the mind of God, truth, light. Same source is here. Alright, and now this is what you start doing. You start being in the world. So that's the choice that you have at this level. That's the only choice that you have at this level. One is true, the other is completely illusionary. One is God, one is ego. One is love, one is fear. These are the choices at this level. But the choices that you make at this level are the same choices then you're making at this level. So let's say this. People think that when they get back to heaven, they're going to make a choice about whether they're coming back here or not. Has anybody here thought that also? I see you're smiling.
No, I just kind of just don't want to come back. So when I get to even level 2, I'd be happy to be at that stage, but just not.
Yeah. The choices you make now are the choices that you're making when you get back to heaven. You make that choice right here, right now. And if you're choosing the ego now, and you're choosing everything to do with the persona now, then you're actually choosing to come back here. It's that simple. And that's another thing that I would say about appreciating the ego, is all you're saying is, I don't want to let it go. I want to keep it as it is. I'm attached to it, so I'm going to keep it. And all you're saying is, that means I'm basically coming back for another lifetime. That's okay. Not wrong. But you can come back for another lifetime conscious, or you can come back unconscious. It's up to you.
Should I put out the candle? I was going to smell it very strong. Sorry.
So Michael, with level 2, or where you make a decision, is that where the 365 lessons come in and the willingness and everything
Yeah.
to build, to get over your resistance, or to, you know the question I'm asking? So, the level 2 where you
Yeah.
make those decisions.
The level, yeah, that's basically when you read that, Jesus says in the Course that you can't call yourself a teacher of God until you completed the workbook. Now, the problem is completing the workbook is a tough job. People think you just read it and do the lessons and that's it. A teacher of God begins here, and that's someone who knows what the workbook is saying. That means someone who knows what forgiveness is. Okay? So that's where the Course and the Power of Now differ. It's because there's a level 2 on the Course. There's no level 2 here. Okay? So let's keep going. I want to just ask the question here, right, about ease in this world. All right? And he says, as long as the egoic mind is running your life, you cannot truly be at ease. You cannot be at peace or fulfilled, except for brief intervals when you obtained just what you wanted. Where is he talking about? The persona again. Persona is always out to get what it wants. And it will be at peace when it gets what it wants. Only very briefly, until it sets its sight on its next target, what it wants. Okay? Since the ego is a derived sense of self, it needs to identify with external things, i.e., we talked about it this morning, attachments. It needs to be both defended and fed constantly. Fed constantly. People have to realize, and I'm going to keep repeating this again and again, feeding the ego is feeding the persona, that's creating the darkness, that's creating your hell. Okay, as long as you keep feeding it, which means you give it every part of yourself unknowingly, then it's kind of like this. You have two countries at war and you're living in one of the countries and you're giving the other country all the ammunition to attack you with. That's what we're doing. You know, you could say we're here in Ireland and England is pulverizing us. But we're giving them all the ammunition to pulverize us. That's what's happening at this level. This is what A Course in Miracles is. This is the core of the last 7 years of work that I have been doing, getting down to this point. The persona is the ego in creation. It's the jewel in the crown for the ego thought system, the persona. It's its most precious. And it will be the hardest thing that you have to let go. So, here. And let me read it. I feel that there's still a great deal I need to learn about the workings of my mind before I can get anywhere near full consciousness or spiritual enlightenment. And the answer is this: no, you don't. The problems of the mind cannot be solved on the level of the mind. Einstein said it slightly differently. Okay? Einstein says the problems of the mind can't be solved at the same level where the problem's been created. What Eckart has done, he's taken level 1 and level 2 completely out of the picture. Because he's culminating the whole mind with level 1 and level 2. So how can you get back to no thinking from wrong-minded thinking if there's no right-minded thinking? You see, it leaves it very difficult. Okay? And I reiterate, this is a masterpiece. I'm not sitting here criticizing this book. I love this book. And I love the man that wrote the book. And I love the teachings of it. But like he does say so in this book himself, he apologized. It was the only way he could express this. All right? When I woke up, I didn't have a clue how anything was. I had to go and learn how everything works. I had to learn the ego thought system. I had to go to teachers. I had to go through that book to learn all of this. And that's what Eckart himself is doing at the moment with the Course. Okay? But you can see the fundamental errors that's in this. All right? This is a book that's well before its time. But this book is a genius because we need books that inspire us to do this work. We need to be inspired. We need to have a goal at the end of it. And people relate to this book and they know what he's saying is the truth. And they know they want to get to it. And the only problem is how. And that's what the true value of what the Course is. So again, let me just keep going here. Right. All problems are illusions of the mind, and I agree with that. It feels as if a heavy burden has been lifted. A sense of lightness, I feel clear. But my problems are still there, waiting for me, aren't they? They haven't been solved. Am I just temporarily evading them? And this is what the answer is. If you found yourself in paradise, it wouldn't be long before your mind would say, yes, but. Ultimately, this is not about solving problems. It's about realizing that there's no problems to be solved. Remember what we did this morning, or there, Persona the problem solver? Persona loves problems. Loves problems, loves crosswords, loves anything at all that can get into that inquiring mind. Okay? And that's what he's talking about here. Again, the moment that you would touch anything here, you have a beautiful sunset, you're sitting there, and your mind's unguarded, then that thought will come in, oh, isn't that beautiful? Look what God gave you. You know, look what God placed out there. The ego will try very subtly to make you believe that that picture is outside you and it's nothing to do with you. So as long as you keep thinking that there's things here that you have to solve, that there's things here you have to do, that there's things here you have to know, you're coming from here. And like I said, that's okay. Go and sort them things out. But this is what you need to sort out. How do I get to here? That's the most important. That's where all focus should go into. Right. If there is no joy, ease, or lightness in what you're doing, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to change what you're doing. It may be sufficient to change the how. How is always more important than what. Alright, has anybody run into this problem? A person rang me up one time and they says, you know, they wanted to go and live here. And they wanted to take this job. Was this the right spiritual thing to do? Another person rang me up and they wanted to go live at this particular place. And they wanted to know, was this the correct spiritual thing to do? Anybody want to give an answer?
It's not what you do, it's
That's
who
what
you
you
do.
do.
It's not about what you do. It's about who you do it with. You have only two choices. You can be with God or you can be with the ego. That's it. When you're with God, you're with your higher self. When you're with the ego, you're with the persona. That's the choices you make. One choice will bring you severe consequences of pain. The other choice will bring you severe consciousness of love. So again, it comes down to what table am I eating from? And here he's asked about, again, right, and I love this answer, where he's asked about, you know, doing things in the world, okay? So do not be concerned with the fruits of your actions, okay? Just give attention to the action itself. The fruit will come of its own accord. This is a powerful spiritual practice, okay? What he's practicing here is non-judgment. What he's talking about is unconditionality in your relationships. You know, if you're with someone, maybe you were in a relationship and you invested a lot of time and energy with that person, and then you turn around and say, look at all the time and energy I wasted on you. Have we all thought this? Have we all done this? You know, we're doing it with investment. All our relationships are all invested heavily, okay, with attachments that we have. The people that you're friends with, they have to be a certain way. They have to treat you a certain way for you to love them. And if they're not going to treat you a certain way, and if they're not going to love you the way you just wanted, you're going to hate them. And there are people out there that you hate. And you'll rationalize that hate by saying, you know, they're not a nice person, or, you know, they're this or they're that. It'll be their problem. It'll not be your problem. You know, they're not like-minded. You know, so the ego's so subtle in how it throws people to the waste. But you'll always know because you're throwing yourself on the waste. It's like when you put somebody into the bad room, you go in front of them. It's as simple as that. And Jesus talks about it in the Courses, where your brother goes, you go with him. And he's telling us very nicely, and not as abruptly as I say to people, like, you know, you put someone into hell, then you're walking there first. And the other sad thing about this is the person you put into the bad room doesn't really go into the bad room. It's only you. You know, it's like you hold a bad thought about someone. Does that other person know you're holding a bad thought about them? No. And the bad thought that you're holding, you think that, oh, I'm not letting him off the hook. or I'm not letting her off the hook. And all that is basically the shadow keeping you in the bad room. Because the shadow won't let anybody off the hook. So again, it's understanding this book with the course and understanding these levels. You can read this book, all right? And I will, if anybody wants to take photographs of these or of levels or anything, right? Just have that little thing made, read the book again or read the course, and you'll see all the levels that's in it. It will really open up your mind. Now here he's asked the question, in that state of wholeness, would we still be able or willing to pursue external goals? But I want to take you back, okay, to back here. Where is that? Well, he was asked that question earlier, but I won't go back now to read it. I'll give you this answer. What he's really asking about here in the world, all right, he's saying, how can you have external goals when you're here? And remember what I said to you this morning, there's two ways when you're here, there's two ways to be in the world. You can be, or you can do. Okay? So when you do things in the world now, you're going to be doing them from here. Without investment, without judgment. Okay? So this is Eckart. Of course. But you will not have illusionary expectations that anything or anybody in the future will save you or make you happy. The key here is expectations. Who has expectations?
Persona.
So if you're here and you decide to do something in the world, all right, you should be doing it from here. But if you have an expectation of what you're doing, where are you doing it from? You're doing it here. Back to square one again. If you're doing something in the world and you have a demand, if you have a need, if you have a desire in what you're doing, you've just been back to sleep again. You see, there's many people do wake up, but they go back to sleep again. And the problem with doing this book through this level is everybody's trying to go up here without doing one thing first, letting go of the attachments. You think of the attachments, right? Think of the attachments as a ball and chain here, right, on this lady's leg, a real heavy one. And that lady goes in here and she's trying to go all the way up to here. And this big ball and chain is on her. That's why it's nearly impossible to do this.
Keep forgetting Michael, though, what I do.
We all do. We all do. We'll just read another few out of this. How do we drop negativity, as you suggest? Okay? By dropping it. How do you drop a piece of hot coal that you're holding in your hand? Okay? How do you drop some heavy and useless baggage that you're carrying? Okay? By recognizing that you don't want to suffer or carry, that you don't want to suffer the pain or carry the burden anymore, and then letting go of it. All right? So if I said to you now, Tricia, on our discussion about the picture, if I said to you, if you continue to do that, it could hurt you, can you drop it? Or is it something you want to continue?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, so I think it's more of a, I know you get this, like not getting hung up on the fact that it's a lovely picture. It could be any picture I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
It
mean?
could be a bad picture
It could be a
too.
bad picture, exactly.
See, the bad pictures we don't want, it's very easy for us to, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you see, the bad picture is actually better because it's like letting go of negativity is much more difficult. It's much more difficult.
And that's why in the course, there's 14 chapters in the course for the special relationship. And the most deceitful of the special relationships is the special love. And that's what he's talking about here.
But it's not real love.
That's not real love. Nowhere close to real love. It's a selfish aspect of ourself that basically it's persona, and we don't know our personality from our persona, so we think it's us. So it's not us. So, and again, in all of this, It does mention forgiveness in the book, but again, it's not about true forgiveness that's in the course. So you can see in all of this, like, you know, there's no tools in this concerning level 2. You know, everything that Eckart's talking about makes perfect sense from here. Okay? But it doesn't make any sense from here. And that's why the reinterpretation of the course at level 2 is there. So just do another few, and we'll take a look. What time is there, Marie? Anybody?
20
Yeah. And here we're just getting, he's talking about Christ, the reality of your divine presence. Okay, and that's what we're talking about this morning, the sonship, what this world is. This world is Christ. Everything that's in this world, every animal, every plant, every rock, every stone, every person, every fly, every snake, every rat, every wasp.
We got the wasps.
Okay, everything here is you, having a different experience of you right at this moment. So, you know, when you go to kill something, you're killing yourself all over again. Anybody here kill a fly today or yesterday or anything? Huh?
Yesterday.
You killed a fly yesterday. That means 10 more lifetimes for you. Oh, justification. Oh.
You have to kill them like it is chasing mosquitoes.
Jesus actually doesn't say there's anything wrong with killing anything. You know why? No one dies without their own consent. It's not very reassuring.
I get up in the morning and he says, I'm going to be killed. And I go and die today.
No one dies without their own consent. That means you have already, in your script, you've already chosen when and how you're going to die. Now, here's the choice. Let's say you have said, right, I'm going to die at 70. All right. And things are not going so well around 50 or 60. Right, well, you have a choice. You can either walk to your 70, or you'll crawl to 70, or you'll be in a hospital to your 70. But you'll be in 70, you'll be there to your 70. So it's your choice in how you're here in this world to your 70. But it's so relieving to know that no one in this world, there's no accidents. No one gets knocked down accidentally. No one gets killed accidentally. Think about it from this level. This is the spiritual universe, right? And think that you come in here, right? And a lot of people come in to aid other people's scripts, especially children, okay? And it doesn't mean that that child has to spend all their life here. You look at all the singers who died at the age of 27. All the famous actors. 27 is the angel's number for getting the fuck out of here. They don't want to be here any longer than have to be. No one wants to be here any longer than they have to be, because they know later on in life they're operating from this mindset that is going to turn to hell. It's going to turn to shit. So most people are people, angels, enlightened beings or whatever, they'll come in here, but they'll get out of here as quick as they can also. So there are people in your lives, and they come in here only for a brief time to teach you something, to tell you something, to show you something. I mean, people with disabilities are teaching the world how to care and how to love. Okay, people with Alzheimer's. My mum has got Alzheimer's. I was up in Donegal there a couple of weeks ago, and I sat and I watched how all the people that was working in the hospital, how they were all learning to love and care for the people that was there. You know? So if you hadn't got people with disabilities, and you hadn't got people who basically, you know, that bring out that tenderness in us, bring out that love, bring out that compassion, bring out that caring. So this is what people are doing in our lives. You know, someone might have a special needs person in a family. Well, that special needs person will ground that whole family. Imagine you had a family and everybody in it, they were all money, they were spoiled, they got everything they wanted. Then you had a family a couple of doors down, you had someone with a special needs in it. I guarantee you, those two families would be completely different. Because the person will ground the people then. They'll make them appreciate of what life is. You know, and we take life for granted so many times. We don't appreciate it. We take things for granted. Our legs, our arms, our walks, everything we take for granted. We don't appreciate these things. And it's not until they're gone that we miss them.
Right, Michael, but should we also take into account though that it's only a dream, it's not really happening?
But
There's no danger we'll make it too much real or anything by seeing pain and seeing that.
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Is that a,
You don't need, you don't really need to go in and picking at everything.
Yeah,
you know?
They could say, I didn't do anything because it's only a dream. Is that a way out? Is that?
No.
No.
Nice try, Tom.
I don't know, doing my best.
Jesus says there in chapter 2, right? And what he's saying is, don't ask me to take your fear away. Alright? He says, because you chose the fear. And your willingness to choose fear is the same willingness to be separate. So anytime that you're in fear, it's always your willingness to be separate. And where the fear comes from, again, is you walked into this persona who's promising you the sun, the moon, and the stars. You're listening to a fairy tale of a story, and now you're paying the price for it. And when you're in there, what you're saying then, Tom, is, it's just a dream now, like, you know. No, you have to still look at the shit, Tom.
Yeah.
Because what Jesus says this, it says, to undo the ego, to the ego means to destroy. You will not destroy, he says very clearly.
Sorry,
He says you must reinterpret it.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do. Everything that gives us a problem in this world, the reason why it gives us a problem is because our interpretation of it is giving us a problem. The problem is never the problem. It's only the interpretation of the problem is the problem.
Okay. But isn't the course forgiveness based on the premise that you didn't do anything?
Yes,
So there's nothing to
exactly.
forgive?
Exactly. But again, that's at a much higher level. Here, forgiveness means detaching from here. That's what forgiveness is. It means detachment. And that's what Eckart is talking about in the book. It's identifying what is the same as detachment, is the same as forgiveness that's in the course. And that's the one thing that this book has been missing. Level 2, forgiveness, the detachment, the procedures, the structure in it. But the beauty about it is, just let me go quickly to Byron Katie here, and I'll just quickly look at this and show the work. And our first one is, right, is it true? And I seen this in Cora's house the last day where a person had cancer. Okay? And this, they've been trying to get rid of this cancer, they're trying to be doing everything, and it was destroying everything in her life. In his life. And basically, Katie sat with him and tried to get him to look at the cancer from a different perspective. Okay? And the cancer was destroying his life. And he asked, or she asked him the question, is that true? That this cancer is destroying your life? And most people would turn around and say, yes. But she got him to turn it around. And to cut a long story short, then she asked him, she got him up to this level, and the question she asked now was, give me a benefit of the cancer. Anybody ever see this one?
No.
What would be the benefit of the cancer? Could anybody think now if you had cancer, what would be the benefit? Huh? And your man turned around and says, it's made me a better person.
Yes.
He says, it's made me a better person to my family. And he went on then, she held him at this level, because that's what Katie did. Katie's a level 3 teacher. Okay, she comes down here, problems that's in these 2 rooms, and then she gets the person to look at the problem differently, which brings them up to here, and then, what she did in that clip that I seen, she held him there for a good half an hour, because she kept asking, give me another reason why the cancer's there. Give me another reason. And all of a sudden, he had 4. Give me another one, 5. Another one, 6. Another one, 7. Another one, 8. And he just kept, no.
Yeah.
But down here he couldn't see one thing. He had only one perspective. Okay? So, this mind, it's either right or wrong, or good or bad. This mind, it's either true or false. When you look down at the world, and you see the world, and you can look at the world, what's real, what's unreal, what's true, what's false. You have lifted yourself to this level of awareness, and peace will start to come in your mind, because this is a very peaceful state of mind. Okay? You will be attached, so what's going to happen is you're going to go down, and you're going to go up. You're going to go down, you're going to go up. But, here's the key. You can't do it from your persona. You must come into the personality. So let's look at the second question. And sometimes people turn around and say, yes, it is true. Yes, it is true. You know, that this cancer is bad or whatever. And Katie's second one is, can you be absolutely know that it's true? And one woman is saying, she hated her husband. She says, I hate him. I want him dead. And then when Katie went through everything, is it true that you hit him? And she got down crying and emotional, because she had listened to hear, and she knew she didn't hit him. But she couldn't say that it was true, because she knew in her heart that she didn't hit him. And she knew in her heart she didn't want to kill him. That was the ego. And Katie knew who was speaking. So when Katie's doing the work, she's listening to the ego, which is the persona or the shadow, and she knows exactly what to say. She knows exactly how to bring you up to this point. But again, and I'm going to be perceived really bad for this, all right? This is a brilliant book, okay? But it only gives part of the story again, all right? Because again, when you add this whole thing up to do, you have a big problem in life, and we all have problems in life, and we use this, say, Katie's book to work, and we solve that problem. But what's the problem?
We are creating the cause. We are creating the cause.
We're going to be creating more problems. So it's kind of,
That's kind of like therapy.
With that as well.
yeah. You see, what we're going to be doing is you can keep doing this, and if you keep doing this, you're going to keep doing this. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's sooner or later you have to realize that this is the mind of correction, is detachment. And what your detachment is of thoughts. Only thoughts, not of people, not of things, not of places, only thoughts. Okay?
So in her book, she kind of disempowers the power of thought. She would say, well, who would you be without that thought?
Exactly.
So she kind of disengages, you know, like the thought system, so not to believe it. So I think from that point of view,
Yeah.
she brings you very much into level 2, because
Yeah.
it's like don't believe your thoughts.
Yeah, exactly,
So-
exactly. So how do you react when you think of that thought? So she's bringing that emotion and the content in, because all emotions come from thoughts. And then she says it before, who would you be without that thought? And then it goes to the turnaround. What this is advanced true forgiveness.
Sorry, Emma.
It's advanced true forgiveness out of A Course in Miracles.
It sounds awfully like rational emotive therapy, Albert Ellis. Rational emotive therapy.
Never
Sounds
did.
awfully like
Yeah.
to me.
But basically what this is, an advanced true forgiveness, it's like this. What Katie does, and the last step, is everything you see outside it, you turn it around and bring it. So if you say, you are a bad person, I am a bad person. It's using the mirror effect. Okay, you bring everything. So she really hated her husband, and that told Katie that she really hated herself. She really wanted to kill her husband, she really wanted to kill herself. You see, you operate, and that's what advanced true forgiveness is. The guilt that I see in you, I only see it in you because I placed it in you. It's coming from me because I reacted to it. The fear I see in you, I placed it in you. So in advanced true forgiveness, it's the same thing, it's coming back to here. Okay? So again, this is a beautiful level 2 teaching from a level 3 teacher who gets you here without all the crap. There's no stories in this. There's no story about what happened in the Garden of Eden, or what God said, or what we said, or what the ego said, or what anybody said. The story's use is finished. Okay? If you really want to do this, drop the story. Okay? So, I'm going to finish up now shortly, so I want to just show you this before I do. This is the state of mind, all right? And this is the way we do it. You can't leave from the persona. You cannot leave from the shadow. You can only leave from your center as the middle way. And that means you're going to leave this place when you have everything balanced in your life. Do you know how to balance your life?
Detach.
Yes. You see, if you have a whole lot of attachments here, you have a whole lot of attachments here.
Mm-hmm.
Every attachment you have here, you have one here. The hardest attachments you're going to let go is your perceptions of the people closest to you that you love. That is the one that trips everybody up. It's easy to forgive the bad people. It's easy to look at the guilt and the shadow and recognize it for what it is. But the one thing persona will never do is give up its soul. All right? So how do you do that? How do you get back into your center? The only way, you can't do it by trying to find your personality. You don't know your personality because you're looking at your personality from your persona. And the persona will convince you of anything. This is you, this is you. And it'll always be the persona. Okay? So let's do this. With Jesus, the way he operates in the book, he does everything the opposite way and he does everything upside down. So instead of trying to find your persona, your personality, find who you're not first. Who is your most authentic relationship with? Who are you most comfortable in your own skin? Who's your most uncomfortable relationship with? Who's your people pleaser? You have at least a half a dozen masks that we use around ourselves with all these people. So it could be like this. This is you. Okay? And that's all the people in your relationships, okay? So you have these. Alright, so you have all these people in your relationships. And it could be a mother, father, sister, brother, best friend, husband, wife, daughter, it could be friends, it could be next door neighbors, all of these things. Alright? How many different masks are you wearing in all these relationships? Are you the same person in all your relationships? Okay, the only way you can find that is see and observe yourself in the relationships all around you. Because you are. There's no way you couldn't be a different person to everybody in your life. And I know you're, I can see your face. You know, you're looking into the abyss here. Is it resonant with you? You know? And even, you know, the more awareness that you have, if you have to go in and you know you're people pleasing someone, like I say, it won't have any effect on you. When you wake up, you can do whatever you want in this world and you can think whatever you want and it will have no effect on you. Unconsciousness hurts you. Okay? Because you believe these thoughts are your thoughts and these thoughts are real. You believe the bad thoughts are real and you believe the good thoughts are real. You can't have one without the other. Okay?
Michael, so you're to say it's easy to forgive bad people. Like,
Yeah.
know, so somebody who's done your foul deed, that's the easy, isn't it?
Well, like I say, it'll be easy if you're in this game and this is what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? You'll know that it's the right thing to do.
All right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, if you're doing spirituality and you're not willing to forgive the bad people, do you know what I mean? Like, well, you're kind of in a contradiction of terms there. Like,
It's really the same as you forgive people who you think are good.
Yeah. It's not about forgiving.
Maybe, yeah, I like it just, it's not that I didn't work with.
So the key is, right, is to try for you to be the same person in all your relationships. If you can identify the persona when you're using it, I guarantee you within a few short weeks or months, you'll start to see a massive improvement in your life. Exactly what Eckart's talking about in The Power of Now. Okay? Provided that you stop creating the hell that's all around you. Or maybe the hell's not around you, but you're denying it, you're doing a good job of keeping it under surface. So what I have here, right, is it's very simple. All right? And it's just about level 2. It's about here. And there's 7 thoughts that you can attach yourself to that can bring you to here. And they're these. Complete responsibility. Total acceptance. Discernment. Does everybody know what discernment means?
It's just like between the wise thing and the unwise.
Discernment is making choices that are true. Okay? Not choices that are right or wrong. It's discernment happens here. What's true and false. What's real, what's unreal. Okay? The great Yogananda, in his life, he went through these stages. When he went to Los Angeles and began to do the teachings throughout America, he moved into this place that he talked about in the film called the real and the unreal. He only started to see what was real and unreal. And then he moved into self-realization at the end of his life, up here. So that's the journey that we're all on. So discernment is any time that you make a true choice. You say, that's true, or that's real, or that's unreal. Even if you look at the unreal and say that's unreal, you're still looking from here. But if you look at something and you label it as right or wrong or good or bad, then you're looking at it from here. So how you see something will always tell you where am I looking from, who am I looking with. So discernment is very important. Detachment or true forgiveness is the next one, because both of them are the same. That's number 4. There's 7 of these. Number 5 is unconditionality. Do you know what that means? In your life, you start practicing unconditionality. And everything you do, your relationships, everything you think, you become unconditional. You're learning to be basically without attachment here. So you move into a non-conditional relationships. And that number 6 is non-attachment. You start practicing non-attachment. And how you start practicing non-attachment is you look at the investment of what I'm doing. Why am I doing this? Is this for me, ego? Is this going to enhance me? Or is it going to enhance everybody? You turn the me into a we. Because that persona is all about me. Okay? This level is all about we. That's why the 2 of them are upside down. And then the last one then is true empathy. And we talk true empathy. So at this level, if you could attach yourself to these thoughts and these thoughts only, you will wake up very quickly. But the problem with this is we're attached to these thoughts. So the detachment of these thoughts and the attachment of these thoughts is what it's all about. And I'm just going to finish up now, so I just want to kind of, there was a lot of information today, and I want to kind of tie it up like this. At this level, at level 3, okay, I try to spend every night that I possibly can in the state of being. Okay? For the first 2 years after I woke up, I basically was in that state every day. And it was one ginormic orgasm every second. And the next one is even better than the last one that you had. And that's the state of being here. Okay? But in that state, I was useless in the world. I couldn't do anything. Why could I not do anything in the world? because it didn't know how to do things. And I remember Suzanne this morning, we talked about the ego being a device. So here's, if you want to do it this way, and this is the quickest way that I possibly know how to do this. And I know every long way, I'm getting shorter ways all the time. So you mightn't have a state of being, but you can do what I do. Okay? And that means for me to do anything in the world, this is what I needed to learn and to know. And what I mean know is to see it in action. I had to understand how judgment works. 3 levels of judgment. Judgment, non-judgment, without judgment. I had to learn that. I had to actually experience myself in those experiences at those 3 levels. Can you do that? I had to learn forgiveness, especially when I was coming down here, because I had to stay detached from here. So I had to learn and master the art of forgiveness. Okay? I had to learn the most important thing of all. I had to master and learn projection. These are the 3 tools that you need to operate every day in this world. Okay? You need to know how judgment works, you need to know how forgiveness works, and you need to know how projection works. If you don't know those 3 things, nothing that you think, see, or hear means anything. Absolutely nothing. Because you're thinking with the ego, you're seeing with the ego, and you're listening to the ego. That's a fact. Now you might believe that you are actually in a good place. Don't trust that. Because if you're angry, annoyed, or depressed, you're not in a good place. You're in the ego's good place, which means that you're not suffering. The ego's idea of happiness is, I'm happy that I'm not suffering. Is that happiness? No. Okay, that's the illusion of happiness. If you're in a good place, you should be touching base here into the bliss. There you know. Or that peaceful state of mind of total contentness. That's here. If you're not in any of those 2 places, then you're here. And you're a big bother. Because you're in spiritual specialness. You're in the ego's form of enlightenment. And you're going to get hurt. Okay? So, how do you avoid all of that? You learn those 3 basic tools. How they work, how the ego works. Because the ego works in this. And like I said this morning, right? The ego works on the law of cause and effect. Okay? The ego obeys that law. You can master that law. Imagine what you would do here in the world if the ego was you. Right? The ego working for you. You knew how the ego operated, and you could use that ego to do things in the world. Because you can't do anything in this world without knowing how the ego operates. It's as simple as that. Okay? So, when I do things in the world, I know I'm coming down here. I know I see truth and illusion. In the chapter of the 2 pictures. Okay? We see 2 pictures every day. But we don't see 2, we only see 1 picture. We only see the ego's version that it wants us to see. There's another picture, and it's coming from this perspective. So if you're only seeing 1 picture every day, okay, you're looking with the ego. You need to start looking for the second picture. Okay, that's turning the other cheek. So when I come in to do things in the world here, I look for the 2 pictures. And when I come down into here, which is very rarely, but I do, I'm into right and wrong and good and bad. I know exactly what I'm doing. I will use this persona to get things done in the world. But the only difference is I'm using it now in full awareness. I know what I'm doing. I know I'm an actor. You see, the persona is the actor that's in the dream that forgets it's an actor. Okay? And that's what we're all are. We're all playing these parts every day. You walk into the film set in your own home, all right? And you go, all right, I'm going to meet this person. So you prepare yourself mentally. You know, you might be going to court. Who am I going to be in court? You know, you might be going to an official function. Who am I going to be at this official function? So you're like the actor. in the film set, preparing yourself for all these different scenes you're going to have. We do this, but you're not aware you do this. And that's the key here. Become aware of how you're preparing yourself to wear these masks every day that you're wearing. Okay? Drop the masks and you drop the pain. Drop the masks and you wake up. It's as simple as that. I meet people every day and I see different masks on people every day, the same people. And I say, oh, they're a different person today than they were yesterday. I'll do this today. You know, and people get very confused. It costs them not a lot of energy. But we know deep down that this is not us. And we feel false by it. We feel empty inside. Because there's no truth in it. So just learn how the ego works. You can master the ego, and if you can master the ego, you master this world. Thank you.
Thank you.